Right, so it's taken a while to get to this point. I mean, it's been a very bad year for actually trying to make progress on this film. We're actually moving forward now, and I was doing some script work yesterday, and I realised that this wasn't actually gonna something that's not panning out. So we've got the section at the start where you've got the American election, the Brexit referendum. The whole point here is to say that these are big, serious issues. Everybody goes wild over them, and somehow No Man's Sky generates the equivalent. And essentially to poke fun, a jibe at how like fans can turn into like the worst enemies you can possibly imagine. That apparently these things are all equivalently serious, and I was going to make more references to that as it went on. So should we all cry? Should we all cry for the head of Hollow Games, whose name I cannot remember right this second. And then we'd just use like a scene from a Trump rally where people go in, lock him up, and then use an appropriate quote from Trump, which I'm sure I could find one. And I just thought that maybe just like the way you have sometimes if you make a serious thing, a serious topic and put it into a game, you just get a game. You don't get something serious. Far Cry 2, apparently about the war-torn Africa, torn apart over diamonds. No one cares about the people caught in the middle. And, well, essentially that's not... It doesn't give... You don't really get anything like that from it. It's just a nice open world shooter and with an interesting theme. And that's what I'm worried about here. The Trump situation is very serious as it is. And to drop it in here to make a point about video games, I don't know if that's going to work. So I've decided just to cull those bits of the script out. It's not too much, but sometimes it takes a while for you to follow through and think, yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. So this section here, when I originally did it last year, I always planned to replace it. This is a stopgap. Originally I thought I'd find something that was pretty good with the electrons and protons going around and the protons and the colors being what I expected. But I actually found nothing on YouTube which really fitted what I wanted. So I thought, you know what, I'll replace this. It's time to start doing Blender, to start doing some animations and things like that. So I spent some time on Blender this year, and it's an uphill struggle. And now it wants to teach me a lot about how to build stuff instead of, getting round to actually animating. So I made this sudden decision like yesterday that I'm going to pick up some Unity. I think I could probably get some balls whizzing around pretty quickly like that. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's goodbye Blender, but it's a bit sad that I could have been trying to do Unity a lot earlier. Hello Games. Wow, guys, we've just won the award for the most innovative rock shooter. So it's been a little while since the last time I recorded a bit of footage here. Yeah, I've been working on A Field of Flowers a lot more since I finished Side by Side Season 3. And working on little bits and pieces, little transitions, things like that. The script is pretty much done. I feel like I need to do another pass, but I'm on the verge of just recording the narration. This transition took quite a while. There was a little, I needed to do this masking here to have the letters disappear as the yellow and green comes in, then go out, and they take away the out there. And that took, I think, maybe at least 2 days to get that right, simply because I couldn't figure out about the parent masking control. Hey, but it's all good, isn't it? So yeah, I went through Vegas Upgrade as well, which was great, and I liked the new version, but the one problem was it just locks up randomly. All of a sudden you got an hourglass, you may not even be doing anything, looking at something else. You'll go back and it's like, oh, it's busy, and it doesn't come back. So we're back to square one of saving after every single change you make, because it's so painful when you just lose a bunch. Here's another scene. I actually filmed this in the summer, and I had this idea that the games were going to rotate, like representing the evolution of games, the past, and how it stays with us. But most of it is Atari games, and this is also another excuse to get my children in, who always like to feature somehow if they can. And I don't think it's fully representative, but it's kind of, you know, cute. I don't think it's going to be like this full screen idea I was originally thinking about. Probably maybe somehow a quarter screen or something. I will do something with it. We'll just have to see if it does make it into the final cut. It's just a shame, but this is what happens. The ideas you have ideas, and sometimes they work, and sometimes they're like, this may be a bit of a. So the question is, so do you hate No Man's Sky? No. It's quite slowly. Okay. Do you hate No Man's Sky? You just need to go like that there, or just or up slowly and like that. Remember, not like. Do you hate No Man's Sky? I hadn't said anything there. So when I first started taking some footage of No Man's Sky, I was a user of F-Flux or Flux, depending how you call it, which is a tool which increases the color temperature on your monitor as the day goes on, so that it's better for your sleep apparently. So it'll make everything a little bit warmer on your monitor as you work into the late hours, getting rid of that blue glow which would supposedly keep you awake. Now, I was taking No Man's Sky footage with Flux in place, and the problem was when you're actually playing a game, for some reason you can't actually see it's actually working. For some reason it bypasses Flux, and you get perfectly colored visuals on your monitor. However, when you're actually recording the footage, all that Flux stuff is actually on the recorded footage. So I had all these movies of No Man's Sky I'd recorded, and every one of them was messed up. They all had the wrong colors. They looked just bleached out with this made too warm because I was recording in the middle of the night. So it was hours, well, not hours of footage, but it seemed like an awful lot of footage. I'd recorded lots of different situations I wanted to use. So I had to bin it all. I didn't delete it though. I just kept it in a folder. So when No Man's Sky Next was unveiled and completely changed how the game worked, and all the different types of things you can see in it, all the elements changed, I realized I couldn't make any new footage of the old version No Man's Sky that I needed to fit into the video. So I thought maybe there's some way of rescuing this old footage. So I went back and started putting them into my video editor, and I think it was Saturday, August the 25th. And I worked for about 2 hours playing with, inverting the color temperatures and things like that. After 2 hours of work, I found some color settings that would actually undo the damage to the point where you could actually use the footage. It was legible. It didn't look weird. And I was really happy with that. But then all of a sudden, some of the videos just started going black in my video editor. And I'm like, what's going on here? And then I realized, it looks like one of the two of these files is just not working properly. Maybe, I recorded them such a long time ago that sectors have gone bad or something, I don't know. So I did a check disk and just like, let's just fix the disk. And it took a while. I thought, okay, fine, we can move on. And then I noticed some of the other files were starting to go black, and my desktop was starting to slow down, and I realized with horror that the video drive was failing. The thing is, I back up all my drives except the video drive. The video drive was always considered to be temporary. I just put footage on there, I turn them into a film, and then who cares, right? Once it's turned into a film, who cares about the footage you had on there? I mean, it's terabytes worth of data. It's over 2.5 terabytes worth of data. I can't, back that up. It's too much. So I realized this is almost like, 2 hours, 2 years worth of work. It was, August 2018, 2 years worth of work of No Man's Sky footage and other bits and pieces I put together ready for the film was all about to disappear, including lots of other bits and pieces which I'd saved for other films. And I was like frightened out of my wits, and I tried to back it up quickly, and that didn't work. In fact, I realized I could hear the click of death from the drive. I heard this ka-chung, ka-chung, and it was actually masked by my PC was down on the floor and I could barely hear it. So I was really worried at that point that was this the end of it. I had to send it off. I realized I had to send it off to get the drive recovered, and I couldn't believe it. This is the point where I'd started to really get going on the film, and now I was going to be stopped by a technical fault. And I was fortunate that actually apparently the drive was badly damaged. It had scrapes all over it. It was a head crash, so the head was just scratching across the surface of the disc, and that's why it got progressively worse as I used the disc more. But they managed to recover 99.99% of it, and it cost me like tons of money, shall we say. And also to make the backup, I made a new backup system which would include the video drive. I got like 12 terabytes of discs and a box which would be attached to my PC working on RAID 10, I think it is. And I would use that as my backup box, and that actually cost a lot of money too, and it was extremely expensive. But I actually recovered all the footage apart from one bit, and the one bit of the No Man's Sky film which is damaged was a bit where my children are running around putting up pieces of paper that are what which is a citation of something that Jeff Vogel wrote. And we'd actually done it once already on a beach in Camber Sands, and I didn't realize, because it was so bright and I could barely see the viewfinder on the camera, that they were out of focus after about the first piece of paper. I was using autofocus and it lost the focus after the first time they ran off, and I couldn't use it. So I got them to do it again in my garden, and that was brilliant. Finally we got it, and this was the footage, the one piece of footage that actually got corrupted and was unrecoverable in the film. I had a glitch, and I thought, am I going to have to get them to do it again one more time? So I decided I wouldn't get them to do it again. There's a little glitch in there, and I decided I would use that glitch as part of the film. So that is the story of how I lost a good month and a lot of pounds to A Field of Flowers. And I cannot believe we're actually at the point where we can see the film today.
Hello everybody! Today we're going to look at Recursed, an indie puzzle game. Okay, so we're going to go get that chest over there, take it through the red gunk, because we're going to need that key with the green on it. And if it goes through the red gunk, it'll lose all its greenness. So up we go grab the key, that's it, right in the chest. Don't touch the door! Well done, well done, well done. Okay, now get the other key, take it into the chest, that's it, come on, hurry up. Take it through the doors, that's right, get through the doors now, get to the other chest to the other side, and guess what? There's the exit, but it's too high! So we jump out, grab the chest, take it back outside, then we're going to drop it in the red gunk, it'll fill up with red gunk, and then we're going to be able to swim to the top. Thank you very much, bye!
I also had, as a deleted scene, I had one idea for a scene where the red ball pops out, and I had this original misunderstanding when I first played No Man's Sky, that when it said, you want to follow the path of Atlas or not, it was actually a tutorial, and I said, no, I don't want to follow the path of Atlas, and the red ball just vanished, and I realized, oh, wait, that wasn't a tutorial, and it gave me a tutorial anyway. So I had these lines in that suggested, like, I thought it was asking me to do a tutorial, and I was making a joke about it, and then when the red ball disappeared, I make this illusion. I was going to insert a piece of Castaway with Tom Hanks losing Wilson. That didn't make it in the end, because I realized that I think I was one of the few people who got that impression, and secondly, it's much clearer with the new, later on, once No Man's Sky is developed, that it doesn't look like that at all. So it was like an ode to a half memory that I enjoyed in my personal way. So out that went. I really held on to it for a long time, but eventually I realized, just looking at No Man's Sky again and again and again, it just wasn't the right call for the video. I decided, look, I'm a programmer, why didn't I try Unity, something like that. That can be used for 3D animations. How much effort will it be, you know? And I wanted to get into, you know, the game programming after all this time and just see what it was like. So it took me a day, and I was quite surprised. I got the effect I wanted in a day. The amazing thing was, it didn't actually take too much effort to get what I wanted. Trying to get the randomized orbits of the electrons was a bit tricky and get them out of phase, so they weren't all starting from the same point. But in the end, I even went a little bit further and made it explode, which wasn't too difficult. I gave them a little bit of sound so that I didn't have to like pretend, so that when they came closer to the camera, they were louder than when they were further away. So you got this kind of vroom, 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 vroom effect. That was really good.
Nuclear bomb into a field of flowers. Great ambitious works like Eskil Steenberg's Love should not go gentle into that good night. Look to the imperfect. Look to the unusual. Look to the unpolished. Look to the beautiful failures. It is there you will find the future of video games.
One of the problems is that when you actually make a decision to release the film, you tell everybody, and then instantly you do that, you realize you've got some things you want to change. And that's what happened. I said, right, next Tuesday. Actually, next Tuesday was the plan all along. So tomorrow was always the plan, to put the film out. The problem is that when I thought I was done, I told everybody this was the plan. I held back until I was sure I could release. And then I realized, oh, I want to change this and that. And I changed a whole load of stuff. So, you know, one of the things, for example, is this scene right here, you can see, and I had a note like, please make it look better. Because it's all right, but it's a little bit, you know, I didn't like the fact that the actual games were dancing around all in different positions, and it's all black. Originally, when I started doing it, the idea was, I'm just going to have a go at No Man's Sky because it's got a bunch of ideas I've seen everywhere else, and it's more fun in those other places than they are all here just chucked together. And then I thought some more about it, and I thought, well, that is originality anyway, right? And maybe more stuff can come out of this. And of course, over time, No Man's Sky was improved upon, and then it felt like, well, you know, my original position was kind of pointless, and eventually I came to this idea of, let's talk about No Man's Sky as being this melting pot, and that's useful in itself. That is a sense, that is original. That's where the Innovation Award comes from. You can argue about that, but you know, it's trying to do something. A lot of it, as far as I can say, just doesn't work quite properly. But you know, with the right headspace, you can really get something out of it. So then I started rewriting the ending, like about 3-4 days ago, a heavy rewrite. And I'm just going to read out what I was going to put at the end. But players covered a particular type of flower, the long game that colonizes the entirety of a player's spare time. They are a monoculture that dominates blockbuster modern design. The long game obsession has subverted AAA development into a precarious all-or-nothing business, blighting design as studios seek to ruthlessly manage risk. Even now, AAA publishers are shifting towards games which generate more predictable revenue. Expect more Fortnite than Dishonored in future. I was always suspicious of No Man's Sky because it seemed to position itself as the ultimate long game, the one you play forever. Please note, the forever game was already invented over 1,000 years ago and is called chess. Jeff Maynor, who runs the Building blog, has suggested No Man's Sky tapped into a fantasy that we will use algorithms and AI to create so many planets that we could explore this space forever. I think it felt like, my God, it's finally here. This is the machine world. This is the Skynet. This is the Matrix. No Man's Sky couldn't quite deliver on the game duration forever sticker, but it was without question a long game. As long games tend to rely on well-established designs, No Man's Sky was an amalgam. This can make them antithetical to design diversity. In our metaphorical field of flowers, you might even label them overgrown weeds. And that was a real problem. It just felt like it was not quite complete. The thoughts needed more work. And what the real issue here is this is a completely different film. that's a completely different topic of conversation about long games. And getting into the idea that No Man's Sky has been squashing other smaller games and hogging so much attention, first of all through hysteria and secondly through hysteria. And I can't just throw that into the end of the film like a nuclear bomb, because it requires a lot more discussion. There's a lot of issues there. I am talking about a difference there between what you might call more innovative use of existing existing mechanics, and something that's less innovative, like, you know, just absorbing and saying, you know, buy me because I'm so cool, I got all these ideas. You know, think about PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds to Fortnite, and Fortnite is huge. But where did the idea come from? Have they added anything back, or are they just polishing what someone else came up with? I mean, I was stuck on that for 2 or 3 days, and I was running out of time. I thought, you know what? Let's go back to the ending we had before. That is far safer than what we've got here. And this is exactly the kind of problem that caused this thing to be delayed by 2 years. I mean, why did it take you 2 years? We moved house in the middle of 2017, and that just stopped me doing anything. I gave up. I was trying to do Blender. I gave myself some time, and eventually I gave up on that. Months went by while I was doing Blender. I got a bit apathetic then, I think, after that, thinking like, oh God, this film is like a millstone. Is it any good anyway? This idea that I'm going to talk about No Man's Sky is rubbish, but actually it's okay, actually it's good, or is it? And then Next came and just blew everything out of the water. Like, I had to retool the script because I can't talk about the 2016 version of No Man's Sky, which no longer really exists at this point. And I had hard drive failure. And still on top of that, I'm not entirely sure why I didn't work on it more. I think it's just generally, I knew it was a lot of work because, you know, when I gave myself this target of getting the film done, oh God, you know, I've worked so hard in the last week. I've worked so hard that I've got a cold now, and my voice has gone. And I wanted to re-record a few bits and pieces, and it's just impossible. So, you know, at least it's out there now. The last fly in the ointment, you always have these things, is that one of the songs right at the start, which I'd had there for months, was blocked on YouTube completely. It's blocked in 269 countries. I didn't even know there were 269 countries. I may have made that number up. And it just was not going to play. And I had to find another song to put in place, which was Sidrim, Surge. And that's very hard to find a new song. Songs usually take weeks or months to get into place. I usually hear something, oh, that's the thing I need. And what happened here is it's like, you've got a deadline, 24, 48 hours. Please find a new song immediately. And that's very, very hard. I think I stayed up very late on Friday night. It's about 2 o'clock in the morning. I think I was working it for 2 to 3 hours, just clicking through music. So here we are. And I can't believe it's really at an end. I've still got a few things to do, like put this making of video together. It's tomorrow, for God's sake. Stop working on it. Anyway, yeah, well, I think we'll call it a day there. I hope you had fun with it. I don't think I did. And, well, you know, maybe I'll just take a break for the rest of the week and just watch Game of Thrones. Or something.
Everything old is new again. Except the old thing's getting really old. Hi. Honey. Guess what I did at work today? I wore a bomb. A nuclear bomb in a field of flowers. I could get lucky. Tomorrow I could have a bigger bomb. Maybe there'll be innocent people.